Marvel Snapcast. I'm your host, Valinthyne, this week, subbing in for SuperTechGod, out on assignment, having child. Congratulations to Tech. Had a baby girl a couple hours ago. Hope she's happy and healthy. And with me, as always, Luke Muncher. Thank you for joining me. Subbing in this week, Mr. Metal. Appreciate you joining us.
Hi. Man. Hey, thanks for having me.
So this is definitely the first time we're recording this podcast. Definitely not starting over. I'm so good at this. Don't worry about it. So we might be retreading a few topics here, but we're going to get right into new cards and new locations. After that, we will be touching on a much asked for topic, the Nexus events. A lot of you guys who didn't play in beta don't necessarily know what we're talking about when we mention all the problems that we had with the gacha version of card acquisition that Second Dinner introduced over the summer. And we want to try and just give you a general idea of what that is, why we all love the title I Survived Nexus Events, and why you should maybe keep it in the back of your mind with this new token collecting card acquisition method. So to start things off, let's bring up the graphic here and take a look at Sauron. The new card added last week, a 3/3 on reveal that removes the abilities of all ongoing cards in your hand and in your deck. Personally, I'm still waiting to see the first reveal of Sauron in my game. Nobody's played him. I haven't gotten him. He was in the shop once, so I guess I saw him there. But have you guys seen Sauron at all in the game?
No, I've not seen anyone play him. I had him randomly generated, but I have not seen anyone play him.
Did you even get to play him when he was randomly generated?
No, it was a dead draw for me. I could have just played a 3/3, but I don't recall exactly what I had, but it definitely wasn't the play.
Oh, it's so sad. I love seeing the this is the first time screen. Like when we were coming up to new cards, it was actually the thing I was anticipating the most, because you would literally get that 7 times like in your first 2 weeks of playing every game. That was the best, especially with Thanos. You would see like each stone.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that gets ruined if you generate the card before your opponent plays it too. So that's like the biggest ad.
Yeah, right.
Now I never even see it.
Well, you might. You know what? You're right. I think you did ruin it for yourself.
Yeah,
that's a bummer. So
I do love the design of this card, though. It looks like a really fun card. It was the card that I was going to buy next, but
it's also great, like a great fucking like art design too. There's a lot of perspective things with base art cards that tend to bug me, and I think this one actually looks amazing.
Yeah.
I think they try to get action poses for the most part, so they look cool when they're 3D and stuff.
Right. So obviously, I think everybody's initial assumption with Sauron is like the zero decks. We're removing negative ongoing abilities like Typhoid Mary's -1, like Red Skull's +2. Is there anything that you guys think that you would want to see Sauron in other than that?
I mean, I think that with, stuff like Ebony Maul and stuff is the key place. I think one of the biggest problems with this card, again, haven't seen it or played with it, would love a way to play with new cards. But the zero decks usually run armor to protect their big things from like Shang-Chi's and stuff, and this can be very tricky with that. So I'm not sure. I'm sure there's more unreleased cards coming with ongoing effects, but
there would almost have to be, because looking at the ongoing pool now, there's really only 4 targets that you would ever want this to hit, and it's Typhoid Mary, it's Red Skull, it's Maul, and it's Lizard.
Electro.
Well, then you don't get his mana then.
Yeah, Electro.
Oh, right, you remove all abilities.
Yeah.
I don't think I really thought about that. In my mind, you were.
That's why Maul's actually good, because then you could play Maul on turn 6, because he doesn't have his restriction anymore.
Good point.
He's just a 1/7, which is pretty cool. But like, if you look at the ongoing list of cards, there aren't many targets that you want this to actually hit. So I think Lute's got a point that there's probably more to come. I think this card just gets better and better the older the game gets.
Yeah, so you probably don't even see a deck where you're building without all 4 of those cards. The possibility to both draw Sauron and play him and draw those cards, you basically need all 4 in there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bummer.
this is kind of me just theory crafting or wishing for something better, but I've always wanted a card that does what Viper does, but before the card reveals. So it'd be cool to be able to Sauron your opponent. That would be like a better leech, I guess. I don't know. Better or worse, who knows? But that'd be such a cool mechanic to give your card an unrevealed, or give your opponent an unrevealed card. I think that'd be really cool. He would have use there.
Interesting. So obviously we didn't see Sauron for the most part, but have we seen Shauna? The other card released yesterday.
No,
of course not. I've seen her once from X Mansion. She ruined a Galactus for me. That was it.
I've only seen her watching Kawa play. He had a list together. He had to be collection complete again. So as soon as it popped up in his shop this morning, he had to get it. But the deck's actually pretty cool. It's a Zabu and Khazar and stuff. It's actually pretty cool. It turns out most of the time it's usually about a 2/8, 4/8, depending if you have Zabu. But it's a very interesting card.
Yeah, and I think we were talking before, like there are, some other non-straight zoo synergies that you could see out of this. Easy fodder for death if you have a Killmonger, obviously. Double activate it, hit it with a Killmonger. You have a bunch of numbers for your null. There's a fairly small pool of cards I think that are negative. It's only Hood, so it wouldn't be too damaging to your null in a situation like that. We were talking earlier. I think it can fit the same style that Mysterio did in Deathwave decks as fodder for it, because even if you just play this and it summons something else in its lane and then you carnage it, that's still fine. You're still destroying things. You're still gaining power for null. So we're adding cards, right? These are not considered played cards.
Their own reveals happen and stuff.
I'm more so for Bishop, and then for
Bishop.
Locations that say play a card.
No, it wouldn't proc Bishop.
Yeah.
Okay.
It shouldn't. From the wording, it shouldn't. But I also think it's funny that the abilities are listed as move and discard.
Yeah, those are very interesting.
Well, some of the one drops do that, so I guess it makes sense. But shouldn't you just list all of the one drop abilities then?
That seems
also,
like
there's ongoing. There's
exactly Looking at it now, though, I wasn't initially impressed with this card. It seemed pretty middle of the road for me. But looking at the one drops now, there are some cool high rolls, right? Say you play this. It's a 2/2 that could summon an Iceman, a Yondu, and a Korg. Those are all good disrupt cards for only 2 mana. You're getting stats. It would always slot into a very specific type of deck, but there are some pretty cool use cases for this card. I think pretty narrow, but still cool nonetheless.
Sure. Now, just thinking about it, it'd just be cool to, if you just want to play random generator, just play it in Bounce Bros.
Oh yeah.
So you're generating random one drops and returning them, and just
get a collector and a falcon or
wow, yeah. So if you have a Quinjet down,
you could get Quinjet off her.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you'll just get a Quinjet that way. That's easy.
Oh, I broke it, guys. Cool.
Yeah, perfect. Done. Very different kind of
doesn't sound so bad.
You know what? Still not pinning it, but we'll think about it maybe one day.
And I brought this point up earlier, but what we're talking about, I would love for there to be a way to play test new cards before you spend tokens on them. So even with battle mode coming up soon, if there was a toggle where you could just be like, me and my friend are playing with all the cards. So you can build a deck with cards you don't have. So you can test out combos or test new cards or whatever. And we were talking about Metal. You were talking about an idea with you said Willow had, I think, about the locations in custom games.
Oh yeah, being able to, in battle mode, being able to choose locations and stuff like that. We were just bouncing ideas off of each other, and that was something that came up. Choose a pool of locations or set the locations for battle mode. That would be sweet. Hearthstone also has their friendly challenge mode. You can share decks with your friends or with your opponents. So if you have the card and your buddy doesn't, your buddy wants to try it, you could lend them your deck. So at least that way they'd get to try it. But I do think it would be cool if there was just all access in some practice mode where you just play against bots or something, just to see. I think it would be nice to be able to test drive the cards, especially with the amount of time and money, depending on if you spend or not, on how much you need to spend to actually get these new cards anyway. It's a big ask. for a card that you might not even enjoy, you know?
Exactly. And I think if you just make it a simple toggle where, hey, we're playing a friendly, all access game. So now me and my friend can play with a deck built from all the cards in the game. But I mean, I know there's streamers that would spend 8 hours just doing that, like
absolutely.
testing out a new card before it came out. Like,
Yep.
I mean, it's a win-win for everyone too. Like the community gets to see if the card's any good, and it also gives Second Dinner more data on if a card needs to be changed or not. Before, it's hard to get that information when what was Sauron's stats? It was like 0.2% of players have the card or something like that.
like
you're never gonna get
0.05.
data to actually balance these cards if they need to be changed. But I feel like that'd be a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, I mean they barely even want to touch the 5-cost cards. I would assume at this point it's going to be. It doesn't matter if it says no refunds. You're going to see people up in arms the second you touch these 5-cost cards, which I think we kind of saw with Galactus already.
And I think it will solve a problem that we've seen recently too, with everyone being like, arrows broken, leaders broken, leeches broken. It's all these people new players getting to these cards for the first time, and they're seeing more and more play. And then, because I mean, everyone, we're all beta testers, so we remember the days where like someone got a card and you just like completely changed everything. It's like I'm just unstoppable because I have this one card no one else does.
It definitely feels that way.
Yeah.
So I just think be able to test that would help with that.
Absolutely. So speaking of locations, we of course this week we got a new location in Rickety Bridge. This just goes hand in hand with the rest that we've seen this month. Altar of Death, obviously, being last week's new location. We've got another destruction location, and Rickety Bridge here. After each turn, there's more than one card here. Destroy them. And I think myself and many others misinterpreted that as more than one card per side, but it is actually per location. So say goodbye to your Winter Soldier if you decided to carnage that Bucky Barnes. So how do you guys feel about the new location? Did you run into any issues with things you wanted to do? Did you have any fun combos set up?
I've played very little of it.
Yeah. I'm just having fun playing Doc Ock into it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was the first thing I did too. Doc Ock, Null, Zola, stuff like that, but hasn't worked out super well for me. I've been playing very little. So
yeah, I actually did run into some fun with Thanos in this. I never got to actually drop Thanos with his full power. I think I hit it once in the like 20 or so games I did it, but it felt pretty good tempo wise to just constantly be able to drop stones into Rickety Bridge, keep whatever they put down destroyed every time, and then utilize the extra energy that I'd garnish off them or extra draws or anything like that. But past that, yeah, it was a lot of Doc Ock. It was a lot of Zola. Not Zola, Null.
No, yeah.
So that,
as far as new locations go, this is definitely one of the most Quake friendly new locations.
Oh yeah, that was the other one.
Yeah.
Quake felt real good with this. Honestly.
Yeah, this is a great Quake location.
I didn't even want to use Quake on Altar. Like I wanted Altar to stay where it was.
Where it is. Yeah, exactly.
This one, not as much.
Yeah, no, that's one thing I like about the new location system. Every week, like you see cards that don't normally see play, like Doc Ock, Quake. So that's always a fun aspect. We were talking about it before. I think a good idea, a good change would be to change Wednesdays to 60% rate, and then just for one day for 24 hours, and then Saturday basically keep the same.
Yeah.
But I think that'd be a good change, because then you have your 2 days to play the focused location based decks, and then the other 5 days you're good to go to play normal stuff.
Yeah. Drop hot locations into the Altar of Death, please. I'm done. I'm over it. I barely would play Sundays anyways. Now I really just don't want to play on Sundays at all. But yeah, I'd like to see new locations more. I'm already generally altering my deck on Wednesdays. Today's Wednesday. Yeah. On Wednesdays for the new locations. Like, let me make it worth my while. Show it to me more. And like, let's not change up everyone's like meta. Like, self-contained meta for 48 hours, 2 whole days.
Well, it's rough when it's a rough location or
Yeah.
someone figures out a deck that really breaks it, and then the only choice for the next 48 hour is to play that deck or play the deck that counters it.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
that's your
Like
only
with,
two
with
options.
Lamentis, it was have death or lose.
Yeah, exactly.
And then if you don't have said big card, you just don't play. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
that's not fun for anyone.
Yeah.
I would be
24
interested-
hours, I think, seems a little more reasonable.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think it seems everyone has that sentiment too. So I would be amazed if Second Dinner doesn't at least speak on the topic. I've never said anything about the 24, 48 hour thing before, but like I've yet to see anybody who's like, oh hell yeah, 48 hours is great. Like everyone thinks 24 hours is more than enough. I would be interested to see though if they went the 60% instead of 40% route. Would that not just change the meta more? Because then you're getting the location more often. So that's just going to pinhole what deck you should be playing instead of just being able to ignore it at the 40% rate, right?
Yeah, the only thought I have was the 6% is to give them feedback of having a lot of people play it, because you're losing a whole 24 hours of people playing with it, seeing it more often. So I think it would be fine at 60. I mean, that's obviously something they could try. If it doesn't work, back it back down to 40 or whatever. So
on the other side of that too, it's like maybe we desperately need unranked mode, and we just shove this into unranked mode for a while, and we'll be done with that on the ladder. So that's what I think. It's unfair to people who don't grind out on the first 5 days to get to infinite and then have to deal with something like this, where it's like, oh, you either hope you have the card or you lose a day. And
yeah,
that's that. But
it is annoying if you don't get if you're trying to get to infinite before a less than fun location comes out. But that being said, I did get to infinite last season off of the back of Lamentis. So
dude, that I rode that wave real hard within the span of like 17 hours.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, that was my fastest climb to date. I think it was like 6 hours just farming Lamentis, because I was lucky enough to have death and Moon Girl.
25 levels in the span of 2 streams for me or something like that. It was ridiculous.
Still one of my favorite locations. I love Lamentis.
I love seeing it. I don't even need to have death in my hand or in my deck. Just I would play Lamentis every game happily.
Well, I play a lot of games with death and Null in my deck already. So
exactly.
I'm happy every time I see Lamentis.
Yeah. Now we're blessed Null owners. So maybe that has a big thing to do with it.
You know, they released Null after Lamentis for a reason too.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It fit too well. Like the second Null came out, it was like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, but that would have been bad. That would have looked real bad. That would have been a little too pay to win. Speaking of pay to win, y'all remember Nexus events?
Unfortunately,
yeah,
I do.
we survived them.
We did survive them, didn't we? So for the uninitiated, we'll try and cover this as best we can without going too hard. On a general oversight level, back in July 19th at 8 p.m. Pacific time, Nexus events became a thing. So you would open your shop up and be greeted with a little banner at the top that said, "Test your might. Open rifts for a chance at exclusive rewards." And this is when we were introduced to Jane Foster, the Mighty Thor. A 5/8 on reveal, draw all cards that cost 0 from your deck. Next to Jane was Destroyer, a 6/16 at the time. On reveal, destroy your other cards. Right below those 2 cards was listed a tagline saying, "Guaranteed 4-star reward every 10 open." Now, what that means is you would get a chance to open what was essentially a loot box, we could call it, for 180 gold. And you could open 10 of those for 1,800 gold. So no break for getting 10. It was literally 10 times the cost. Gold, I believe, cost exactly the same as it does now.
Yeah.
So the way that this was introduced to us was extremely misleading to start things off. Jane Foster and Destroyer you could open from this pack, and it would be a new card for you. If you didn't have Destroyer, it'd be a new card for you, a way to get these new cards. Those were not 4-star rewards. Those were were considered 5-star rewards. So what that meant is that you did not have a guaranteed opening at 10 caches. It was, I believe, 50% chance to get one of them at 50 caches, if I'm remembering that correctly.
I just saw it. It was the if you
Sorry,
went
yes,
up,
you're
it said 50%.
guaranteed. You are guaranteed one of them at 50 opens. So that would be a base card for Jane Foster or Destroyer, or the variant card, Jane Foster or Destroyer. If you opened the variant card, you would essentially unlock the card. Now, the problem with this is the breakdown in cost more than anything. Our good friend Dara went ahead and broke this down. To guarantee yourself both cards, one card. To guarantee yourself one card, you are essentially spending $337. With the absolute worst luck in the game, you'd need to open 150 caches to guarantee yourself one card. That's unacceptable, because within those 150, yes, you were getting a lot of different things like gold, titles, avatars, everything. If you're on the video, you can see right here, we'd get a handful of 9 different avatars. There was Guardians of the Galaxy variants. There was the Jane and Destroyer variants. But the community did not sit well with the idea of randomizing your chance at getting new cards. And the fact that if you wanted to stay full, complete collection, you were looking at, what was it, essentially $700 a month, I think.
It was well, that's assuming you don't already have the other card, the already existing card. Yeah, it would have been just over $700 a month. Which, and
I have this memory. Was Hella involved in this at all?
Yeah, that was the other, because when they announced Nexus, there were 2 Nexus events. We had Thor or Lady Jane and Destroyer, and then the other one was I forget what the
Valkyrie.
other Nexus. Valkyrie. Yeah, Valkyrie. Yeah,
okay, I could not for the life of
Yeah.
me figure out why Hella was stuck in my head for this whole thing, and she was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, the second Nexus event was supposed to be Valkyrie and Hela.
Right, and we were going to see, what was it, 2 of these a month?
Yeah, 2 a month.
With 2 new cards introduced this way, 1 card on the season pass, and I believe there was going to be a 4th card introduced every month, but I don't know that we ever got to hear what the plan was with that.
I'm not sure.
I feel like we were on pace to get a card a week.
Yeah, it was supposed to be one a week. Said. Yeah, but I don't recall the details of that.
We never really got that, unless the way that they were looking at it was 2 weeks of Nexus events, and then they would essentially be 4 cards.
Yeah,
if you're looking at the secondary card, that could be what was implied there. So what were your gut reactions, Lute? If you want to go ahead and kick it off here, what was your gut reaction when Nexus event started?
So I was very much excited, like I think most people were, because they kept, one thing that I had a problem with the Nexus events is they kept telling us that they were going to release a blog post about how everything works. Like they said it for like a week leading up to it. We're going to post this soon. We're going to post this soon. We're going to post this soon. It posted with all the details when it went live.
Yeah.
And so you didn't really know what was going to be in it. You didn't know if it was going to be a good deal. You didn't know anything till it popped up. But everyone was excited about new cards. It's the first time other than season pass that we were getting access to new cards. And so I immediately bought, I think it was like 100 golds worth. But I pulled Jane Foster immediately. I think it was my first batch.
My God.
And I also pulled the Destroyer variant. That's
because
I had Destroyer.
3% chance over, or a 1.5% chance on each pull.
Yes.
And you managed to pull both of them immediately.
Yes, at $100. Yeah. And so I was happy. I immediately started playing decks. with Jane. I had a destroyer deck, so I was cool with it. But once after everyone started seeing and doing math, and I was just excited, but everyone did math. Like, oh yeah, I feel bad now. I feel bad that I just spent that because I know I got lucky, and if I didn't get lucky, I could have had to spend $500 for this. So like, yeah. Definitely an interesting thing too that I guess never really clicked till now, but the correlation of the token shop, you can see how the token shop came from this because they're releasing Series 5 cards, but also giving you tokens to get the Series 3 cards because that's what they were doing. They were giving you a Series 3 card, that would way to target it with these Nexus events, and then they were giving you the new card. So it never clicked together to me that, oh, that's where that idea came from.
Yeah. Metal, how about you?
The Nexus event was a blessing and a curse for me specifically, and maybe a couple other people. More so a curse than anything else, obviously. Don't get me wrong, but I actually managed to complete my collection because of Nexus events. When they first came out, I just was complete. I didn't do any of the math. I didn't do any of the research. I was actually streaming when they went live, so I just started clicking the button. I was like, whatever, cool cards. And it wasn't until the next morning when the news started coming out that it was actually just like a huge cost sink that you'd have to spend $700 every 2 weeks or whatever to maintain this. When I stopped spending, this is how I unlocked Destroyer. I actually got my Destroyer through Nexus events. But because of the loot box systems and how often you'd get credits, as I was already pretty close to completing my collection when these came out. So I kind of just treated it as a way to pay to win, for lack of a better term. I completed my collection because of this at a pretty grand cost. I also never got Jane from the boxes. I think I spent like $200 to $300. Never got Jane, got Destroyer. I have all of the variants, with the exception of Destroyer. I have Drax, Star-Lord, Rocket, all of the avatars and the variants. So, I mean, I spent a lot on these and didn't even get the main reward. But that being said, I did complete my collection because of them. So I guess that's a win. I don't know. It was a really grimy thing, the way they worded it with the guaranteed 4-star rewards. Like, I'm not trying to justify their choices here, but it was a win for me personally.
Fair.
I think I heard a few people that's how they completed their collections.
Yeah. I think Dara and I were like one of the first people to ever complete our collections, and it was because of this.
I think Dara's was definitely because of this. Yeah,
it absolutely was. Yeah. I believe he was live at the same time too, and he managed to complete his collection. I think I completed mine the day after him. But it was strictly because I was just pressing that button and getting credits over and over again, which allowed me to level up my collection. So
yeah. Man, that was actually a hilarious moment because Derek completed his collection. It was like, all right, is this how we get Thanos?
Yeah, he kept spending to try to get Thanos. Yeah.
I'm gonna open my collection and it's just gonna give me Thanos and Galactus now, right? This was.
I mean, in his defense, they did say that we would obtain Thanos and Galactus
in a
special
way. Yeah. And look at us now. So for me personally, I was actually I was on the worst vacation of my life. No exaggeration.
Right. I remember that.
And I was streaming still daily from like the most just ghetto ass setup you could possibly imagine. I sounded horrible. I looked horrible. And like it was not my birthday week, but it was like close to my birthday week. And I vividly remember sitting at the fire and seeing this go live and just going, wait, what? Those aren't 5-star though. Like it clicked for me instantly somehow. And I want to say that like part of me was like, well, I'm not going to spend money right now because I'm not live. I want to wait until I'm streaming so that I can do these polls live on stream. And I waited long enough to see the outrage start to quell up and was able to not spend any money. So I didn't spend a dime on the Nexus events. My parents, God bless them, didn't get me anything for my birthday. So they were like, well, do you want some Google Play money so that you can buy your boxes in your game? And I was like, no, absolutely not. No. And I went live the next morning and just ripped Second Dinner a new one because I was extremely unhappy. I think I did end up spending probably about 600 gold that I already had from season pass, knowing that we would get it back. Like knowing that something was going to happen is like, all right, they're probably just going to give this back. They're going to refund or something. And it's like, I'll get like 5 pulls, whatever. And I got nothing. I got credits and that was pretty much it. So on the back end of this, obviously there was a lot of outrage and people were not happy. They got a lot of flack. News outlets that were not even really talking about Marvel Snap picked up on this. It was definitely all over Kotaku and a bunch of different outlets. Gamatsu, people were not stoked. And they were pretty relatively quick to respond. I think, you see, they wanted to run the event until the until August 1st, and by the 21st, Ben Brode
2 days
had,
later.
yeah, was it how long?
It's the start date was the 19th, so 2 days later.
2 days later, right? So yeah, from Ben Brode on the 21st at 10:18 p.m. Sorry, 7:11 p.m. He posted in the Discord. Earlier this week, we shipped the latest release of Marvel Snap 2 players and launched in New Zealand and Australia. With that release came a new monetization feature we wanted to introduce and test: Nexus Events. It's clear that a lot of you are disappointed with Nexus Events, and we hear you. We missed the mark on this. Internally, we're having discussions around next steps and how we can act on your feedback. We're here for the long run and are focused on creating a great game that is fair and that you'll love. Stay tuned to hear more from us. Now, obviously, we cannot say with any certainty whether Nexus Events in general were something that Second Dinner truly thought were going to work. Gotcha mechanics, which is essentially a slot machine. When you say gotcha, it is very much a put money in, pull lever, you get something. And usually there's a single pull and a 10 pull. And this is exactly what this was. You'll see this in mobile games. You'll see this in something like Genshin Impact. Like all of these games very much have this. We don't know if that was Second Dinner's idea. We don't know if this was the publisher's idea. As far as monetization goes, they course corrected for the most part, I would say, and very quickly announced that they would be removing Nexus Events, refunding all gold that was spent within the Nexus event, and give Jane Foster out to everybody who is currently in the beta, and would put Jane Foster directly into Pool 3 so that all new accounts created after that fact could immediately open Jane. Well, immediately.
In Pool 3,
Jane.
yeah.
In Pool 3, yeah. So you would obviously still have to randomly pull her. And back then that was every 90 or so caches. Just in case you guys don't know that and you still want to complain about Pool 3 speed, cut it out.
Well, it was like 96 levels, not caches.
Yeah, sorry,
It was
96
like 9
levels.
caches.
Yeah, roughly 9 caches.
Yeah.
Or exactly 9 caches. So, this is obviously huge. And this, I think, is where you were able to complete your collection medal, right? Because you got this gold back.
Well, no, I completed it before the refund.
Oh, you got it before the gold?
I got it before the refund.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. And just to revisit that topic, I just went back through and redid some of the math. It was 36,000 gold if you didn't have the already existing card to guarantee that you would get both cards. And my refund was 34,000. So I was literally one more pool away from getting Jane. And I'm just now realizing this.
Oh my God.
Well, you ended up with her anyways.
Yeah, I got her anyway. Yeah, and I got
Well, you saved
34,000
money.
gold back. But yeah,
It
it was
perfect.
I just went back and did the math and realized, because I still remember getting the refund because I was live when it happened, and I'm now realizing that I was literally one pull away. I just needed to click the button one more time, and I got so mad, and it was already like such a scam that I just stopped clicking the button.
Oh my God.
That is hilarious.
So yeah, the average cost there too, just for like a little bit of a breakdown. This is from Dara's video, which we'll make sure we link in the description down below that we're pulling this from. So you were looking at 148 average cost if you don't have Destroyer. for pulling Jane, and $122 average cost if you already have Destroyer. So in general, if you were getting Jane from this, you were spending over $100.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
you're getting
So for me,
yeah. Well, you still spent $100.
$100.
You
Yeah.
still spent it, you know?
Yeah.
So now all
I
that
think it was
said,
$99.99.
yeah, there you go. All that said, obviously things have changed, right? There is no longer Nexus events. We're now at a place where we feel like we have control over what we're unlocking. We feel like we have more control over how we're spending our money. However, and thank you to Metal for crunching these numbers a little bit for us. So assuming you already own the existing card in the Nexus event, Nexus was $450 a month. And this is if you are Series 3 complete, right?
Yeah.
$450 a month is what you're going to be spending so that you are always getting the new card every month. This is
that would have been twice a month.
Twice a
right?
month.
Or no, you're right. I'm sorry.
Right,
You're
$450 a month.
It was once
So,
a month. Yeah. Sorry.
55.20 a year. Now, granted, you know, that is worst luck, worst case scenario every month, right?
Yeah.
So in the current series, the current system, Series 4 and 5 system, assuming you're full Series 3, you're spending roughly $154 a week. So if you are trying to keep up and get the new card every single week to spend the max amount to get tokens, you're looking at $154 a week, $616 a month, $7,392 a year. On average, you're spending $200 a month more for the worst case scenario of Nexus events. So where we've landed actually costs considerably more to have a complete collection. Now, granted, on a personal level, I've come to terms with what Second Dinner is trying to do with this game, right? It is not supposed to be a game where you have a complete collection. We're supposed to have individualized collections. We're supposed to be able to, you know, go, hey, look what I have. Oh, that's what you have. And like compare and contrast and like challenge each other with what we were able to collect. Do you guys feel like we're in a better place, even though we are looking at something that costs $200 plus a month more?
I haven't thought about it too much until today, but looking at it now, I could be wrong. I like I said, I haven't actually looked at the details, but I think it's worse because Nexus events offered you rewards if you missed. You got credits, you got avatars. Not that that's a reward, but I mean, you would just get credits if you could just whiff the loot box and just get straight up credits. That can't happen with the current system. You know what I mean? You're buying credits outright to level up your collection, but I don't know. You're spending more for less, right?
To counter that a little bit. So yes and no, right? Are we, because the drop rates for things like boosters and credits and all that is probably somewhat on par with what you would get
Okay, yeah.
out of it's definitely different because we're not doing boosters in the same
Yeah, the
way.
boosters are gone. That's a good point. I hadn't
So those are
considered that.
gone. Now you're looking at, you know, avatars and titles, things that were probably going to be worked into. Well, avatars definitely were. Titles were probably going to be worked into Nexus events as well.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, you are still getting all those same rewards, but you're spending more, right? And
Well, you're also only getting those rewards when you level up your cards and spend your credits. Right. And my point was that with Nexus, you roll a box and just get credits. You don't have to spend credits to get the credits. You did just outright get the credits, but
True.
It was a loot box. You could have gotten an avatar. You know what I mean? So is it better or worse? I don't know. Looking at the numbers, I want to say it's worse, but I'm not actually looking at any of the details. So I could be totally off base here.
Fair. Luke, how do you feel?
I think Nexus events if you look at it from a standpoint of how it went down, and I think something that takes a sting out of it a lot was the refund and how they handled it. But the handling of it to begin with was really bad, with the misleading 4-star pull, 5-star pull, that kind of stuff. Like it wasn't great. This system feels better, I would say, because I feel like you're not. I mean, I'm not in the concept of trying to keep a collection, so I'm not spending this money. So it feels fine to me. I'm fine at the pace, but I definitely don't have all the new cards. I'm probably missing 8 of them, 9 of them. It keeps growing every week because I have Valkyrie death locked into my store until she drops. And so, but I think one thing, I've actually thought 2 things. One thing we were talking about earlier, and another one that I've been thinking about a while of how they could, because the tokens haven't been received like super well. Like I think for the most part people like it, but there's definitely still a lot of negative feedback about them, about how long it takes, especially if you're not pull 3 complete, to get tokens to get new cards. So I think if they cut the token cost of all the token shop by half, so 500 for a pull 3 card, 1,500 for Series 4, and 3,000 for Series 5, I think that will help a lot. And if you're just looking at it, if you just cut your numbers in half of the math you did, that's cheaper than Nexus Events, still very expensive, like $300 a month. Right. But then that's a choice on you if you want to spend that. But just cutting everything in half, everyone would gain stuff, you would think, twice as fast. And I think it would stop a lot of the complaints for it. It would make it feel better. And then the second one I was talking about, we were talking about earlier, with being able to test out the new cards to see if they are worth your tokens, if it's 3,000 or 6,000, to be able to test it with battle mode coming out. Like, why can I not play with my friend to see if I want to buy Shauna or not before I spend 6,000 tokens?
Fair. Yeah, like on a personal level, I think I've really hit a wall as far as spending money in this game goes. My most recent purchase was for $100 worth of gold, thinking, all right, cool, I'm set for this Dino bundle, I'm set for the Horley bundle, and I have some left over for the next bundle. And I in no way did I expect to get enough tokens out of that. Like I know the token acquisition rate. I know that it's gonna be 12,000 credits roughly for 3,000 tokens. I think the Pro bundle helped put that into focus for me a little bit more. And I just I've also come to a point where I know, not going to be complete collection ever. Not going to shoot for that. But this kind of takes the wind out of my sails for wanting to spend money in this game at all.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm confused. They push this. You're not supposed to have a full collection thing. I can't think of the proper word, but they put this out there and say you're not supposed to have a full collection. Everybody's collection should be independent. But if you want one, spend $7,000 a year.
Yeah,
I don't understand. Like, I don't know. I love this game to death. Don't get me wrong, but like, I just don't get where that comes from. Like, who's making this decision that you can't have all the cards, but if you want all the cards, give us 10 grand,
$7 grand,
or $7 a year. I don't know why I said 10.
If it comes across like, I don't necessarily want to say it comes across greedy, but it does come across as like, all right, we don't want to necessarily look like we're targeting whales, so we give a method for everyone to get a card a month. But then if you want to be a whale, we'll let you be a whale. Like, by all means, you can be a whale. And you can not really look like it, but you're gonna be a whale. It's because like you still have to spend that much money, but you have to do it in such a profoundly roundabout way.
Yeah. I think they make it convoluted for a reason, though, right? Like that's kind of how
it's supposed to stop you, right? Like,
well, I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like it's not. I hate using the word predatory, but
it is part of the market for mobile games.
It is. It really is. And I'm on no fault of second dinners, but that's just that's how it goes.
Yeah.
You kind of have to. So instead of putting this $500 a month price tag on it with Nexus events, I feel like this is a better way to ship it out.
It's
to
easier
say to people,
for us
hey,
to digest.
exactly. Yeah, more
on its
digestible. Yeah.
face. Yeah. It's not great. I mean, this is, like we were saying, this comes with the territory of a mobile game, but I think people need to like properly see the token system for what it is. And it is Nexus 2.0.
It really is.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you guys brought up a
it
great
is.
point in the fact that like, here's 2 cards to choose. Like if you don't have this card, you'll get this card. Like, oh shit, no, that is very much the collector's shop. And like, I even recently was saying like, I think it'd be great if in the token shop, it gave you like a series, like 2 different carousels. You got like a series 3 to choose from, and then a 4, 5, or ultimate to choose from. And if you already have the 3s, it's just a 4 and then a 5 and an ultimate. It's like, no, dude, you're just bringing back a more convoluted Nexus event in your own head after talking so much shit on Nexus events.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've come to a very interesting point with this game, I think, on a personal level.
And I think Nexus events, like, I guess you could say, lower the cost of gold or lower the cost of the Nexus event pulls or whatever. But I think Nexus events, I've always thought like there was no way to fix that. So that's why they just salvaged the whole thing. But tokens, I think can be fixed. Like if you do reduce the cost of the amount of tokens that it gets, or you increase the amount of tokens we get, like whichever way, then and you're getting it more, I think you can find the sweet spot for that, where you're still making plenty of money, but the players don't feel like crap for getting these tokens.
Yeah, and it does seem like that they actually understand that, right? With the recent change to the 200 to 600 token bundles instead of just getting 400 every time, like it's a step in the right direction. I know a lot of people were kind of like outraged by it, but as someone who has full pool 3, I think it's great. I've only ever gotten like 400 to 600 tokens out of those rolls now. So I mean,
it's generally
I'm right on pace,
like a net
neutral.
Like it's neutral.
Yeah.
But like it's a good move. Like I think Second Dinner is one of the best live service developers that I've encountered when it comes to positive reinforcement from a game, right? This is why you don't hear defeat anymore. This is why it's about moments. And Ben talks about this a lot. This is something that Ben loves to touch on. It's about moments in the game. You might lose, but you come away with a game more often than not with a moment that makes you go, oh man, that was awesome. Or but I had this, like in this turn, I did this, and that was really cool. And now I can take that and apply it to what I know, or what I can do later. And like, I've learned something from this game. It's not a defeat, it's growth. Right. And I didn't get no tokens. I got 400 tokens this time. So like that puts me on my path to my next card. Like they are all about slow positive reinforcement to keep you engaged with the game. Yeah. It's very smart.
Ben's always been very good about that. He was the same with Hearthstone, because in the early days of Hearthstone, there was a sorry emote. You could say sorry. And that eventually got removed because it felt really fucking bad, when you lose and your opponent's spamming you with the sorry emote, So
yeah, I don't know
he's always been very adamant about making losing not feel so bad. That also kind of feeds into the retreat function too. That's not something you see in a lot of card games. Being able to just scoop up your cards and walk away instead of taking a giant loss on the chin like that.
Right.
It feels less bad. That was one of my first things when I first started playing Snap, was that losing didn't feel like losing. I mean, the more I play, the more it hurts now. But like when I first started, I was like, yeah, this is great. Like, cool, I lose, so what?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I do play too much, so I feel like it gets to the point where it's like, that's on me. It's not a game design thing. It's I have an addiction thing.
Right. No, dude. I keep saying it on stream. Like I can't keep playing this game 40 hours a week like this.
Yeah.
It is not made to be played this much. I've stopped playing it off stream because by the time I get on camera, and I hate saying this, I want nothing to do with it by the time I get to that point. And that's my fault. This is not made to be consumed this way.
No, it's not. We're not the only ones either. I just
yeah.
before the podcast, I was watching Kibler play it, and I noticed that he was booster cap, and I said something in chat about it, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't even know I could do that." I was explaining that it happens within a 24-hour window, and he's like, "Oh, I must have played this game a lot." He's only been live for like 6 hours, so he was playing it off stream too, because there's no way you're hitting booster cap in 6 hours. Like I do it often, and it takes at least 8.
Yeah, not midday with an 8 p.m. Eastern reset. Oh, so, buddy,
it's not just us. Like I think most people that play this game, at least the hardcore ones that would be, taking in this media, this content that we're making and stuff like that is, I think we're all playing maybe too much.
Yeah, I mean it's the kind of game
that's a bad thing.
It's kind of great because it can feed into your your addictive personality, right? You could be that person that normally with a game like this, you would spend, and you don't necessarily have to do that, right? So if you can properly accept the lack of needing a full collection, you can play a crap ton of this game and not spend a crap ton of money and still get your fix in one way and be able to stay away from that other fix.
Yeah. I wonder if they were feeding into that with Nexus events. Maybe they knew the psychology of what kind of people we are.
I mean, they spent 4 or 5 years making this game before we touched it, so they're probably very similar people, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that's exactly what Nexus Events did to me. I didn't know the math. I didn't know anything. I was like, new cards, $100, click the button.
Exactly. Yeah. As a creator, I was like, well, I guess I'm pressing this button now.
Right. Yeah. You feed into that cycle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of I got to make content.
Yeah.
How else am I going to make content with these cards?
I mean, the first card I bought with tokens was a Tuma. So tell me about it.
Agent Coulson, baby. I'm right there with you.
Got to press the button, man.
Oh boy. You make that mistake and you learn, right?
Yeah.
So on the topic of looking forward and maybe growing as creators and players in general, is there any hope you guys think of you continuing to buy bundles and buy tokens? Are you guys going to keep spending money on the game in light of kind of seeing tokens for what they are, Token Shop for what it is?
You can go ahead, Middle.
So being that I used to be a whale, I'm a reformed whale now. But once I completed my collection, I was still full spending for no reason at all. I had all the cards. I just liked making them shiny. I liked chasing things. I really wanted the Vision Avatar, so I chased that for 5 months.
That was a time.
I mean, I've spent probably close to $3,000 on this game. And 3 of those months, I didn't need to spend a dime. I wasn't getting anything out of it other than shiny cards. But again, that's the addictive personality. But at the announcement of Series 4 and Series 5, I didn't do the math. I was just like, this is going to cost a lot of money. And it doesn't seem like it will pan out in the way where I'll ever really get anything out of it. So I have not spent a dime on Snap since the patch before the Series 4 and Series 5 release. I just don't see a reason to. But that is from a standpoint of where I have all the cards. I'll be able to buy a Series 5 card, maybe 2 a month, just because of the situation I set myself up in to just have the chance to roll high collector's tokens out of the collection level. So at this current junction, I don't think I'll be spending. If I ever do, it would have to be a badass bundle that is like characters that I love. Or the token bundles. The token bundles are the only thing that are really gonna, I think, hook most people. Right. It's the only thing that's of value, and this comes back to the predatory practices of them not wanting to put an explicit price tag on tokens. So if they just sprinkle them here or there and just put some random price tag on them, people are going to buy it because they want the tokens. So I mean, GG's, it's a fair tactic. It sucks as a player, but they're a business and they have to make money, and it's a good way to do it, in my opinion.
Fair. Loot.
So first of all, the thing with you were talking about badass bundles. There's a $5 one coming very soon.
Oh, I've seen it.
Jubilee.
I've seen it.
So get ready, those $5. Throw them down. But Yeah, so I actually had a smart idea. I'm usually very picky about Christmas gifts, and everyone was asking me, "What do you want for Christmas?" Apple gift cards. Give me Apple gift cards.
There you go.
So I'm just got a hoard of Apple gift cards, and that's what I've been spending on bundles and season passes and stuff. But I'm not sure if I'll ever just plop down $100 again, like I did for Nexus events. I would like for the prices to change. Like I said, I think this system can be salvaged, and they just need to adjust the numbers so they're making money and we don't feel terrible about it. They got to find that ratio.
Yeah.
So so I'll definitely probably still spend money, but I have not bought the Dino bundle or the Pro bundle. The idea with the Pro bundles, I'm assuming it's never going away because there's no time on it or anything.
Yeah.
So
Ben alluded to it being there for a while.
Yeah. So I'm in no rush unless I hear that it's going to get removed soon, and then I'll debate that. But yeah, I'm pretty close to buying the gold bundle, just getting gold from the season pass and stuff, the Dino bundle. So if I get to that, I'll probably buy that. But yeah, I think it does. The system still needs to be tweaked a little bit. We know on their roadmap they are targeting some kind of tournaments, and they're also targeting what was the name for the variants? Mythic variants or something.
Oh yeah, the Mythic.
There was like a different variant coming out that they had. So if they focus and make stuff like the token shop seem reasonable, then price those at whatever you want, charge what you want for events. But like if the tournaments are expensive and these new variants are expensive and token shops expensive, I can see how it's going to price some people out of the game.
Fair.
It kind of comes back to what Val said earlier too. Is like a lot of people need to realize that you're not supposed to have a full collection. Like, and it's hard. It's hard to swallow that pill, especially if you're coming from any competitive card game. That's never been the case.
Video games in general.
Or yeah,
like
even more
achievement
more
hunters, collectors, anything.
Exactly. It's I don't know. It's
I've got shit I buy all the time because I like to just collect things.
You've got the entire Marvel Champions set behind you.
Yeah, like literally the amount of money that I've spent on Marvel cards already.
Yeah,
like holy crap.
I like where they're coming from, right? Like if their head's in a good place or not, I don't know. That's debatable, but I do like that they're trying something new. That they're trying to take it back to when you would compare your collection to your friend's collection, but I just don't think it works. Not in a format or in a setting where people want to play this game competitively and people want this game to last and be around for a long time. That doesn't necessarily pan out in a situation where people are going to lose interest because they can't have everything they want.
Right.
And think about it. They've said are kind of leaving tournaments and big events and stuff to outside presences. That's not something they're really focused on. But just think about it. Someone does do a tournament series and the tournament scene gets big, and then someone sees this and they see it 6 months from now, this big tournament on Twitch. Like, oh, I want to play that game. And then you go and you have to play, and then the tokens and all that stuff, you're starting so far behind. Like that's going to turn off a lot of people. They're like, oh, never mind, I'll just keep watching, or forget that game.
That's a really good point.
100% going to get to a point where it's not a pro bundle anymore. It's a starter set. It's opening the game and just buying all of pool 2 right away.
Yeah,
you're not even going to be opening that shit. You're just like I don't want to be pessimistic, but it's I feel like we're going to get to that point eventually where you are flat out just buying your way into new game plus, essentially into pool 3. Yeah. It's just, I want to catch up. Here's $500. There you go.
They almost have to do it that way. Like
they have to. Yeah.
Unless this is forever just to be a mobile game and it will never have a competitive scene. That's the only way to get around that is to implement an option for new players to actually have a chance to compete or play at any sort of competitive level. If you're not giving them the option to just get in and start practicing without having to spend 6 months of money and time to accumulate even a decent collection to be able to compete,
Right.
So it's
at the end of the day, it's a video game. Like you don't just stop what you're doing to play a game for 6 months, hardcore full time, for the chance to compete
Right.
by actually getting a base set of cards. That's not how that's going to work.
It's definitely concerning because I mean, competitive is what carries most game modes or most games. I mean, like League of Legends, for example. Imagine that didn't have any competitive scene. What is that anymore? You know, like
it's one of the biggest marketing tools. Yeah,
exactly. Like it draws in new viewers and it draws in new players and it keeps the game alive and thriving. And without a competitive scene, I just don't see where it goes. And at this current junction, I don't see there being a competitive scene at all.
Right. Look at the meta right now. Look at the way that the difficulty that people are having climbing, and like, you know, matchmaking and bot issues aside, there's still an inherent problem with the ability to make this game inviting to new players. So, and it's only going to get worse over time. So definitely something to think about. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we wrap up for this week?
It's not necessarily on topic. Well, I guess maybe it is, but you were looking at something earlier. You had it popped up on the on your screen there. It was a reply from Broad on Twitter referring to what the definition of Nexus event was. I've never seen that Twitter reply, but that's hilarious. The second,
one right
look
here?
At his reply right there. Yeah,
they were trying. Okay, so yeah, somebody had asked, good to see. I think that we're all thought this was going to be a fun event. Involved loot box at the very least. The name was bad for what it was.
Not an event at all. Not even by any stretch of the imagination.
Trying to be marvelly by connecting it to TVA from Loki, but the connotation to in-game events really set the wrong impression. On a total side note, if I could just inform y'all.
Oh, I have it pulled up here. It says Nexus events are moments in the sacred timeline. Wait, hold on. Never mind. I don't have it pulled up. I lied.
I would like to point out that the Nexus in Marvel Snap is, hold on, that's from Loki.
Oh, I know what you're.
An event in a timeline which is not supposed to happen was the definition of the Nexus event.
So the Nexus in Marvel is actually I can't find it, but it is a place in Orangeville, Florida. So like the fact it's just like a portal of just nothingness and garbage, just like set in like fake ass Gainesville, Florida. I wish I could find like more about it right now. It's hard to find anything about it because everything goes to Nexus events now, but the actual, here we go. Is this the Nexus? I'm going to have to make a video about this one day because it cracked me the fuck up that like, it is just so not what you expect when you look up the actual Nexus in, I'm using Bing. Why am I using Bing?
See, I knew what you were talking about. I thought you were talking about what Metal brought up. I thought you were talking about the Nexus event being
the definition of what a Nexus event is.
Something should have happened.
Well, the idea that it's something that should not happen is just like, wow, you guys, they missed the mark on that.
I just like Ben's reply there, inferring that he knows what the definition is, and it doesn't sound great.
Nope.
That's not what we wanted it to do.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was just maybe they knew the whole time.
I don't know. They're pretty big nerds.
Wait, are y'all telling me the Loki series wasn't them just open up boxes the whole time? Is that not what the TVA did?
It's just Loki. It's just Loki and Owen Wilson sitting in a slot machine.
Yes.
Anything else from you guys?
I think that's it.
No.
Awesome. Well, we'll end it there. Thank you guys so much for listening. You can find us on your favorite podcast app on anchor.fm. You can find an RSS feed for us. You can watch us on YouTube. Please like the video on YouTube. That stuff helps. Leave a comment down below if you are on YouTube. Let us know what you guys want to see from future episodes. And we should be back next week. SuperTechGod will hopefully be here. Maybe things will run a little bit smoother. We won't have to record the podcast twice. Not that we had to record the whole thing, but yeah, we'll see you guys again next week. Thank you so much for watching.
Peace.
See you guys.